Today we're looking at the payments to us and the Xero integration option that we've provided for the product, been available for the last couple of years. Let's click into that. So today's agenda is who is payments to us, Xero integration for, what sort of target markets have we aimed to address with this. With that, what is integrated between Salesforce and Xero with these things? Xero is obviously a reasonably comprehensive product. We've concentrated on the key items here that we think will address most of our customers' business needs. And then getting started with payments to us, Xero integration, and we'll have a look at the daily life with payments to us and Xero. A couple of these two things here, the getting started and the daily life of using payments to us and Xero, will be through the demo part of things. And time. Yep.
Jeff, can you share the screen as well? So
okay. I think I've done that again, haven't I? We need to make sure that I do this. Okay. So just to recap, so here's payments to us Xero integration for what is integrated between Salesforce and Xero, and then getting started with payments to us Xero integration. We'll do that live in the app, the daily life with payments to us and Xero. And time permitting, we've got a couple of things here that we will aim to address as well. So we'll have a look at like a flow that we've set up that creates the Xero invoices from a opportunity. And we also have a journal creation process that I'll touch on during the during the various discussions as well. Okay, and then live Q&A. So who's payments to us Xero integration targeted for? Obviously, corporates is one user that would typically use this, and also not-for-profits. For corporates, their use case is often quite simple. Once you win an opportunity or a sales order or even a quote within the standard Salesforce, you want to send out an invoice, and that goes into Xero. And once the invoice is received, that comes back and records a payment inside Salesforce. For non-profits, what we find is that they typically use invoicing sometimes for programs that they're running, but the other major use cases is for major gifts and grants. For the individual donations and things like that, if somebody gives you, like $20 a month or $10 a month, we tend to find that they want to use that as a journal rather than having, a contact and an invoice inside Xero for every single donation. So they typically use the invoicing side for the major gifts, maybe their programs, and for grants, and then for the rest of it, you would simply journal into that. Okay, so what is integrated between Salesforce and Xero? We've got Salesforce accounts and contacts. The primary use case is normally at the account level, but we do have some people that have individual contacts that they want to set up the contact inside Xero. For those that are familiar with Xero, obviously contact is the main sort of person that you would invoice against. Then the next item is a Xero invoice inside Salesforce. So we would create that normally using Flow. We've got some templated flows for you to do that. That would create the invoice there, and then that would record that invoice inside Xero. That invoice is normally linked to a contact, so you create the contact first. We also have credit notes. Credit notes have only just been added. So this was added like 1 or 2 releases ago, so certainly this year. And once you get a payment coming back inside Xero, so that would normally record the payment to the cash check, maybe bank transfer, etc. That comes back into Salesforce and creates a Xero payment that is linked to the original invoice. Then you'd use flows and that to do whatever your downstream processing inside Salesforce there is, and that would normally be, say, closing the opportunity offers, say close paid or something like that. To support that, we have a whole lot of other integrations as well. So these are the primary integrations, but we've got, settings, we've got, line items for the invoices, we've got, branding themes, tax rates, tax components, etc. Cool. Okay, so without further ado, what I'm going to do is go into our instance of payments to us, or our instance of Salesforce. There is a couple of things that you will need first. The Xero, so this is the getting started with, configuring and setting up and things like that. So what you would do is, first of all, you need to contact our support and get a license key. So the license key goes against your merchant facility, and what you'll find is down the bottom section here, we have the various licenses that you can get. This is a test instance, so it's got everything. So it's got the Xero one, and it's got that key down there. So first thing to do is to get that. We can organize a couple-week trial if you wish to try things out. Then the next thing you do is you go into the menu option here for Xero settings, and I'll just click on that at the top, and you create a new Xero setting. You can give this name anything that you want, demo, and this is where you link it to the merchant facility so that we know the licensing that you're going to be using, and there's a license cost for each instance of Xero that you integrate with. So if you had two different Xero instances, that would be two Xero licenses. And we just tick that. You'll see that there's some other things here, that various statuses that we run through, and the integration can happen on a synchronized thing. So the synchronization routines, I'll be running them today by pressing the buttons manually, but just for your side of things, the sync will happen. You can set that to run, hourly. You can set it to run, 4 times a day or daily, depending on what your needs are. So this is when it's sending the, the contacts or the invoices across to Xero, or you can run it on demand, and that's what I'll be doing during today's session. So really all I had to do here is enter a name, any name. I put in the merchant facility from a licensing point of view, and go save. Okay, so after that, what you'll see here is going across the top of the screen here is a number of different buttons. The first one that we need to do is do this one here that says connect to Xero. Okay, what that is going to do is ask me to log into Xero. And for those people that are looking to trial this out, as I have done, what I've done previously is I've actually already logged into Xero into another tab, and inside Xero you have your main company, and then you can select demo company. So up the top here, you can select your main company down here, or you can select your demo company as an option there. So I did that before connecting, and what that did is that gave me the option to select a demo company. Oops, and for some reason, okay, it's not allowing me to actually do that today for some reason. It's going to a live account. Okay, I'm just going to carry on with this and select the one there, and go allow access. So normally that option there would come up. Then it's actually asking me to log into my Salesforce account again. And this is just part of the authentication. And what I can do here is select the demo company from here, and I go complete as well. So I can actually select it a couple of places. Okay, So that's allowed me to connect to my Xero account, and I've selected the demo company here. So what I can do now is I have to, next of all, get what they call the metadata. So when I go sync here, you'll see things like tax codes, GL codes, branding themes, and the like will come in here. So that was really the setup and connect to Xero. So when I do a refresh on the screen here on my Xero settings, I'll now see the tax rates and things like that that come through from Xero. So if we've got any tracking categories that you might want to use in Xero's, branding themes for that, GL codes, and currently item codes is not coming across. We can manually key those if you need item codes. Okay, so that was pretty much the core setup. The next thing that you would be looking at doing is going to the account level side of things. What I have done is to my page layout is I've dragged some of the fields onto the screen here that would normally relate to the Xero side of things. So you would have to add these to your page layout. The key one here is, and also some buttons. So all this button here does is mark for sync, is basically says that I would like this account here, and you see it's marked that, I would like this account here to now end up inside my Xero account. Now, if you already have your accounts inside Salesforce and you have your accounts already inside Xero and you're looking at doing this app, have a look at our online manuals for getting set up, because you will need to pre-populate the record IDs, like the keys that identify the account inside Xero to the account inside Salesforce, so that you don't duplicate it. Okay. So that's there. If you've got lots of them, our procedures there have a way of how you could do that en masse as well. Okay, so there's kind of like a report that you can run inside Xero. Okay, all I've done here is I've said I want to synchronize that with Xero, but I haven't actually synchronized it yet. So as part of the setup, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press the sync contact button, and that's going to run the synchronization now. So remember, we can set the sync up to go at predefined levels, so I don't have to run this manually, but I'm sure you don't want to wait 1 hour for this presentation, so that's why I'm doing that now. Okay, so if I go back to my company, and this time what I'm going to do is do a refresh on the account and have a look at the details. And I can see the last time that this was synchronized was this time, and it's now got a Xero kind of record ID inside there as well, stored against it. So I know this has previously been synced. Now what we have is you're going to change things like, phone numbers and addresses and things like that against the account. If you change any of the key fields that exist inside Salesforce and also exist inside Xero, we have a thing behind the screen that once you've actually synchronized it the first time, from then on, any changes that are key fields will automatically flag that for resync if some of those key fields change. Okay, so that's kind of like the core setup. So we've kind of got, account codes, our GL codes, and things like that. What I'm going to do now is move to a more on the, the daily day in the life of somebody using Xero. So this would be, first time thing. So most people would be having against the account, what they do is probably be using opportunities, or you could be using things like, sales orders and things like that. And I'll go demo Xero. Okay, and I'm going to put a close date of then. And so this is all stock standard Salesforce. There's nothing that we've done here, whoops, I need to put the stage. So that's the stock standard Salesforce error message. What I'm going to do here is click into the opportunity. Now, normally with Xero, you would end up having line items as well. So I'm just going to add a couple of products here. For this one, we'll go 1, 2, just select any product. I'm probably going to make the quantity 2. I won't make the price quite as high. And 3 at 150. Okay, so stock standard Salesforce opportunity management with opportunity lines and products. Okay, and if you haven't used opportunity line items and things like that, there's plenty of trailheads and things like that are available. What I have done here is I have added to the page layout the Xero invoices to this. And you see here that there currently is no Xero invoice created. So this is still an opportunity that I'm working through. So this could be a major gift, it could be a grant, it could be, if you're a corporate, it could be the widget that you've sold. If you're working with programs, it could be you're working on getting, I don't know, a new student to your Christmas camp or something like that. So that's your opportunity. But what will happen with the opportunity is you'll get to a stage, and what you're going to do here is I'm going to say, right, I'm at the stage where I need to now mark this for invoicing. Okay. Now what I've got here is a flow has been set up behind the scenes. Like I say, if we've got time, we'll put the flow details later on. But what you can see, when I did that, put it to that stage, this has now created a Xero invoice. So that's one of the payments to us objects, right? Xero invoice and credit notes. Cool. So if I click into that, it's obviously going to highlight that line item. And what you'll see down here is we've got the different line items across here as well. So at this stage, it's not, so it's marked to go to Xero, but hasn't actually gone into Xero. What you'll notice here, so remember Burlington Textile Group was the one that when I just stepping back a step, that I previously put into Xero. And remember I did the sync of that, so we know that already exists in Xero. So if I go back to Xero and I'm on my demo company and I go to contacts, all contacts, and I should be able to find, was it Burlington? So Burlington Textiles. So all of that information is the contact has previously come across from Xero. But when I have a look at the invoices, I'm not going to see that invoice in there at this stage. Okay, what I'm going to do is go back to Salesforce. So this is my Xero invoice. It's got the flag, it's already flagged here for integration, but hasn't gone across. So if I go back to my Xero settings, remember this can be scheduled to run every hour or 4 times a day or daily or however often you need it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually sync mine now. So I'm going to press the sync button that I want to sync the invoices. Okay, so now I marked it for sync. If I go back to my Xero invoices here, and I'm going to do a refresh on this page. And what I can see here is so the center Xero has been removed, and I can see that the last sync date, and that's gone through perfectly okay. If there was any error messages, it would tell you there. Okay, so what should have also happened here is it's returned the invoice number from Xero. So this is ORC 146. So if I go back to Xero and I'll just do a refresh on that page, And what I can now see is that all of those details have come across here as well. Okay. This has come across here in like a, and we should see those, those line items that I added. Okay, remember I added 3 and 2 at that particular price. It's picked up some default sales codes. Cool. When I am here, there is a couple of other things that I can actually see. So I can get this to send the invoice through Xero as well. So we can trigger that to actually, through Xero can send the invoice. So I can trigger that from here. And I can also download and see what the invoice from Xero is going to look like as well. And what that will do is attach it to the notes and files. So if I do a refresh here, I should. So now I can actually download that, and I can see what the invoice looks like as well. So that was the invoice that would go out of Xero. Cool. And I'll just go back. So that was the setup and the daily usage of Xero and the invoices. I will save a couple of minutes for questions and things like that. The other thing that I might just go into quickly is behind the scenes as well. So you recall that I had a particular thing that from the opportunity to when I changed it to a certain stage, it automatically created a Xero invoice. So this is not really for finance. This is more for a Salesforce admin type person to set up. And what we do is we do have an example flow that we've set up. It's called a template flow. So you can actually just clone it and modify it, and then that should also work. But you might want to make some other things. So what I've got here is I go setup and flows. And again, this is your Salesforce admin. And we've got this one. So this is our template one that comes with payments to us that you can just kind of clone. And this is one here that I have modified for this particular thing here. So I've got a thing here. So it starts off when, and the conditions are going to be when the stage name equals invoice, and then we click through that, and it sort of says, basically, check to see if the account has already been sent across. If it hasn't, then update it. Then we've got a special routine here that actually says create the Xero invoice. So the flow basically says when the stage changes to stage of invoice, I'm going to check to see if that account has already been sent across to Xero beforehand. If it hasn't, then I'm going to mark it for sync. Then I'm going to create the invoice. And then I've actually got some other updates happening after that. So that was like a super quick review of that. Like I say, we do have a flow that all you do is clone it, the mark it as active, and that should work as well. Cool. We'll go through a couple of questions. If we don't have any questions, then we'll go on to the other bonus part as well. So Vish.
We don't have any questions in chat window.
Okay, we'll open up for 10 seconds on questions.
So we have one question from Sean. Sean, he's saying, how do we handle duplicates in Xero?
Is that duplicate invoices or duplicate accounts?
Accounts.
Okay, accounts. So to make sure you don't end up with duplicate accounts, the first thing to do is when when you obviously within Xero, we can't stop you creating duplicate accounts there. But what we do is inside Salesforce is when you first set it up, is you would copy the ID, so that code comes inside Xero for the account level. You copy it across and put it against the account inside Salesforce, so that it knows that the one-for-one already exists. So it's not going to try and duplicate it already. If you miss that step, then there is a possibility that it will duplicate that account. And to prevent duplicate accounts getting created in Salesforce, the way that you do that is use Salesforce duplicate rules. So hopefully that's helped. So there is a step that you need to do as part of the setup. Again, have a look at our online user guides that kind of talks about how you already, if you've got accounts inside Xero and you've got accounts inside Salesforce, how you make sure that those two are kept in sync and we don't create duplicates. Okay, cool. Sorry, Vish, I think I saw a couple of things there. Do I need to take them on or ask?
Yeah, there is a follow-up question for that. Are partial payments returned to Salesforce?
Partial payments. If you have the invoice and that yeah, partial payments do come. Partial payments should come back into Salesforce. So one invoice can have multiple payments. So if you have like a deposit and then a final, that would be catered for.
Okay. We have one question from Tom. He says that he has already got the flow set up, but at the moment only legacy contacts go through the flow. Xero seems to have lost the ability to create invoices for new contacts, and also won't make invoices for contacts who have changed company or email.
Yep. So for that, when I did inside my flow, the difference between my flow and so this one here is a bit more of an advanced side of things. What I do here is I get the related account, and then what I do here is I've got a decision like, does that account have that Xero ID already assigned to it? If it does, then that's the default. If it doesn't, then what I do is I update the account related to the opportunity and I tick that sync for it automatically. So if it's a new account that's never been sent to Xero, what I do is I have the flow update it to tick it automatically. And what happens is we will send new accounts across to Xero first, and then we'll send the invoices across. So as part of our synchronization side of things. So what I think has happened is you've done the initial setup, but what you're not doing is automatically, you haven't got a process in place to new accounts have been added to Salesforce to send them across.